on this video. But before we get into this story, let me give you a quick overview of how I ended up in a position where institutional real estate investment on Northwestern Mutual, yeah, that's Northwestern Mutual, actually let little old me source and lead commercial real estate equity strategies, that being acquisitions and joint venture development opportunities, as well as debt investment activities in the Midwest. But wait. Let me take a step back and introduce myself real quick. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nylz Reyes, New York City born, Philly raised, go Birds, HBCU grad, Aggie Pride, and former ICU nurse from HUP. Shout out to the Hospital University of Pennsylvania, who transitioned from being a healthcare provider to a commercial real estate investment professional by the way of a graduate degree from NYU, shout out to Shaq, and then put in the work at CBRE's valuation group in Boston and Philadelphia before landing on Northwestern Mutual's real estate investment team upon graduation in July 2020. Whew, I know that was a lot. I apologize, but that's because I've taken a long, windy road to get where I am today, which means I have a lot to share. So if you're not subscribed yet, please go ahead and push the like and subscribe buttons to follow me on my journey and watch me go from the bedside to the boardroom. For a more detailed video on how I started my transition, check out this video where I did a one-on-one interview with one of my great video producers. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Okay, wait, don't turn the channel. I'm done with the intro, I promise. Let's jump right into it. So, the drive-in. Let's jump right into it. Back in 2023, I was about 3 years deep in my associate tenure at my prior employer, an institutional investment firm. And for those of you who aren't familiar with how these shops are structured, you got analysts and associates who support the producers or originators or acquisition officers. Now, I had the opportunity to become a producer while still holding the title of associate because one of the producers that I supported went out on maternity leave.
Oh my God! Wow!
An extended one at that. And because I had proven myself repeatedly on her debt and equity deals across her territories, which was the Midwest region, I had next. Now, whether you're a producer, originator, or even an appraiser, you have to tour the property prior to closing the deal. So I booked a room at the Palmer House, a Hilton hotel at 17 East Monroe Street in Chicago. The Palmer House is one of those old school, dripping in history downtown Chicago hotels. Like, the energy in that lobby alone hits different. So after flying in the morning, I finally got settled and opened the laptop. I spent the rest of the afternoon grinding in the hotel room, catching up on emails, hopping on virtual meetings with my boss and analysts, a few brokers to touch on other deals. Look, just because you're knee deep in one deal doesn't mean you stop giving attention to the other deals. They're all kind of like your babies, low key. After I logged off around 10 p.m., I went to grab dinner at the Elephant and Castle, which was one of my favorite after-hour spots from my time at CBRE's healthcare valuation team in Boston, where I was doing valuations across healthcare assets. So senior housing, medical office, life science facilities, you name it, I was doing it. Long hours, complex valuations. And so I would slide over to Elephant and Castle for their poutine. For the uninitiated, poutine is a Canadian specialty. Gravy, cheese curds, practically over anything you want. But I would get what was called the works over there in Boston, which was gravy-covered cheese fries with bacon. Well, it turns out Chicago location didn't have poutine on the menu, so I ended up ordering something else. So moving along with the story, after dinner, I went to explore the city and ended up on a rooftop bar, and I met a couple cool people, had a couple drinks, and then just sat back and took in the Chicago skyline. Okay, the following day, I wake up to get ready for a meeting with the client. I think it was scheduled like at 2 o'clock. But the day before, when I had all those calls at the hotel, I had already scheduled a couple earlier meetings with former colleagues at CBRE, that being Randall Dawson and John Moten. Randall is a senior executive within CBRE's appraisal group, and John is a financing pro and a rising star, at the time of the deal. Now that I was covering the Midwest, I wanted to pick their brains about the markets, property types, deal flow, and honestly, whether there were any overlooked operators out there seeking institutional capital that they may have a connection with and can make an introduction for me. After that, me and my video guy went out to Portillo's for lunch. I went in thinking I was gonna get a hot dog, classic Chicago move. But when I got there, everyone told me about the Italian beef sandwich. So I got the beef, and my video producer Elias got the cheeseburger. Honest review, I wouldn't write home to Philadelphia about it. Maybe 3.5 stars at the most. All right, so we didn't get footage of the client's office or their staff for obvious reasons, confidentiality. But what I can tell you is that the deal involved a leading student housing real estate developer, operator, and investment manager based in Chicago. They were seeking financing for a property and were in a bit of a tight spot. Now, the original plan was for me to fly into Bloomington solo to meet the operator and tour the property, which I said earlier, standard protocol, but here's where it gets nuanced. At my firm, producers didn't have their own clients or accounts at the time. It was more of a shared relationship management model. You manage a region, not a roster. So there wasn't really a business case for me to go to meet a client. Now, some investment shops operate on an eat what you kill model. Mine didn't at the time. I think things have changed, but that's how they rolled. And that's fine because it actually makes for better collaboration amongst producers on the platform. But I had this feeling, call it a sense of ownership, that I was associated with a deal where a client's experience wasn't a 5-star one. And I want to be real with you. Most deal experiences aren't 5 stars. Deal making is a contact sport sometimes.
Way outside. Fernando keeps it himself. I'm going to run. Mendoza!
Touchdown, Indiana!
You're gonna get bumps and bruises, and that's just a part of it. They don't teach you that in grad school, and most people don't talk about it when the deal closes because they're just glad to get it done and move on. But the negotiation on this one were rough. I was the quarterback, managing calls and meetings with our legal, their legal, my regional director, my assistant portfolio manager, my portfolio manager, their head acquisitions, my point of contact at the firm, as well as the brokerage team. Shout out to TSB Capital Advisors. This was also their first deal with the firm. They came to us through a JV partner referral. And look, just because your partner got a great deal doesn't mean you're gonna get the same terms with the same firm. Every deal is different. Just ask your cousin Ray Ray.
So you can run and tell that, homeboy.
Okay, so the deal got done. No wrongdoing, no lack of professionalism on either side. But again, I could tell over the phone, in the meetings toward the closing, that this group wasn't fully satisfied with their experience. And I decided I needed to address it directly. Hence why I flew out to the Chi versus just flying directly to Bloomington for the tour. To spend a little more time with them on their home turf, I felt was very important, where I sat with the head of acquisitions, the COO, and the director of capital markets, and pretty much apologized for the rough experience. I told them how much I admired what they built since inception, that I see the growth trajectory, I respect the hustle, and that I would love to continue doing business with them.
We know after that performance from the great Miami team that the U is back. But we also know that Indiana is here. And it looks like the Hoosiers are here to stay as national champions.
So now that you have the background, let's get into the deal. The investment opportunity was acquisition financing for a student housing property located near Indiana University. You know the Hoosiers? No. Not those Hoosiers, these Hoosiers.
Touchdown, Indiana! No flags!
Wow, what a season. When I arrived on campus, I had lunch with a client, and that was intentional. I always try to spend as much time as possible with the sponsor / operator. The more you know what makes them tick, the better you can serve them. It's just that simple. Then we went and toured the most comparable comp in the market, the Standard of Bloomington, just to understand the level of living experience being offered to the students in this market. And they didn't disappoint. They had an indoor courtyard, dog washing stations, study areas, ping pong tables.
What?
A full court basketball gym.
What?
Tons of common areas.
What?
A golf simulator.
What?
A tanning bed.
What?
Yoga rooms.
What?
A rock climbing wall.
What?
A full gym.
What?
A study lounge.
What?
A computer lab.
What?
An outdoor pool.
What?
And we toured Unit 1225. And when I say it was nicer than anything I've stayed at during my college days, oh my gosh. Next up, the actual subject property, my first deal. At the time it was called The Verve. And boy, did this property show out. We're talking about a dope mailbox and package room, a concierge desk with coffee and latte stations, a beautiful lobby, an incredible vending area, open common spaces.
What?
And then up top, a decked out rooftop with outdoor grilling, lounge areas,
What?
cornhole,
What?
a pool,
What?
and a gigantic jumbo screen
What?
to watch the championship game, man. They also had pool tables, saunas, business centers, and a full weight room. Please note that this property is not located in Miami, Tallahassee, or Orlando, Florida, where one would expect these type of amenities. It's located in Bloomington, Indiana. Then we toured the units. And man, this operator knew exactly what they were acquiring. Check it out. See the difference? That's my first deal. So having spent this much time with the sponsor / operator, they took me to a neighboring site, which was an old restaurant with a large parking lot that was being demolished at the time. They owned the land and had plans to build a sister building to the property that they were about to acquire, which was the subject, The Verve. They also showed me another property they owned known as The State, a more affordable option for students. So the fact that they had control over 3 different living experiences was music to my ear. This is exactly what I saw in them. The operator told me that had I not attempted to reconcile the relationship, they would never show me potential future opportunities in person. So after the tour, we said our goodbyes. I was in Bloomington and I had a 7:30 flight out of Chicago. But when we hit the road, I couldn't leave Indiana without making one stop. Gary, Indiana, home of one of my favorites, the late, great Michael Jackson. I mean, why wouldn't I go? We had time, and look, if you made it this far in the video, you can already see that I'm a person who never lets a good opportunity pass me by. Whether that's people, places, or investments, I stay curious. Gary was no different, and my instincts were spot on. Additional little nuance, it was also Michael Jackson's birthday that day. I was just driving around to pay homage to the late great, and lo and behold, was the community already on top of it. Check out what we found out there.
Yeah, happy birthday, Daddy, on Michael's day.
Happy birthday,
So after that, we got back on the road. Already has probably spent too much time in Gary, Indiana, for good reasons. And we drove back to Chicago. We caught our flight and headed home. I did confide in one of the portfolio managers in our group. He was a great guy. He covered the West Coast. Actually an African-American gentleman, HBCU grad himself, which I was lucky to have that mentoring component built into the platform. So he pretty much gave me validation on the reconciliation part. And I held on to that. Shout out to Ahmad Perry, appreciate you. So crazy thing is, 6 months later, Ahmad sent an email with my boss CC'd and typed up something I'll never forget. That his West Coast team had just closed a student housing financing deal with the same sponsor / operator. And the broker on that deal, the same broker that was on my deal, passed along a message from the sponsor. It went something like this. Had Nylz not visited us and put in the time and the energy he did to reconcile the relationship, maybe the opportunity may not have been theirs. And I'm paraphrasing, I don't know if that was exactly the words that were mentioned, but it was something along those lines. And look, you guys, I'm not saying I was the make it or break it for any of those deals. And to be honest, they probably would have floated deals in front of my former employer anyway, because there aren't that many behemoths in the commercial real estate space that can have attractive rates and terms at a high level. And one thing I know from doing deals, people have short memories and get over stuff real quick, especially when there's a lot of money on the line. There's, credit that could be awarded to your career as far as deal titles and headlines and promotions on the line. So, but I say all that to also mention, and I also want to mention, relationships are still very important to maintain throughout the process. And said process becomes easier and potentially more fruitful over time. And stellar relationship management executed. So my biggest takeaway from my first deal is this. I don't lead with real estate. I mean, that's kind of table stakes. That's necessarily what you do in the underwriting. I like to lead with the relationship. And because of that, I'm willing to take the short-term hit for the long-term play. Every single time. That's just who I am. And I genuinely believe that's just the way I'm built. Okay, that's all I got. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. It's your boy, Nylz Reyes, and until next time, peace.